Note to Chris: save this for outtakes for patrons.
Save this for the actual intro.
All right, you ready for this?
Warning.
Watch very closely now. 3, 2, 1. Bzow! Check that out.
The following podcast features terrible jokes.
You know you can use Hot Wheels cars when you need to make a saving throw in D&D? Every car is die-cast.
Usually about board games.
We want the fun. Gotta have that fun.
Must insist that no one attempt to recreate any joke performed on this podcast.
We had less technical issues than $1 Million Company.
All right.
This is Boards and Swords.
Live from the Oyo Casino, which is probably more people know it as the Hooters Casino.
The Hooters Casino.
It's Boards and Swords.
Boards and Swords.
Wait, hold on. It's dark outside.
It's ridiculously dark outside.
We're in a hotel room. Is this your after dark that you keep talking about? Your Boards and Swords after dark?
Then that's been our show. We'll see y'all later.
Future edit to future Chris, like insert porn music here. Yeah, so it's Vegas, baby. That's where we're at. If you're watching this, that means one of us made it home successfully.
One of us made it home successfully. Actually, that's going with you, so you have to get home successfully.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, if something happens to me, I don't know. You never know. It means I made it home. Okay, it means I made it back successfully. So, so we had quite an adventure here. Just a warning for anybody that's just listening to this for the first time, we just met a whole bunch of new cool people. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot more banter in this than usual. We like to save that for like the Patreon bits, but this episode's going to be a lot of banter. In fact, I don't even know if we'll do a Patreon episode this week. This might just be a really long episode. So just to let you know, patrons, what you would get if you subscribe
is what you're going to get right now.
But Phyllis, why don't you intro us?
This is the free preview weekend for Patreon. That's what it
exactly. Is. Why don't you give us that snazzy intro for the news?
News.
I feel like I need a video bit for the news because I always have the audio stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But so recently I decided to install a phone in my bathroom, in case I ever get the Call of Duty. So yeah, it's different because I can't like flash it up, but I'll have it up on there. Yeah, iconic video game series Call of Duty set to debut as official board game on Kickstarter fall of 2023. I mean, this was only a matter of time, right?
It was only a matter of time. However, if there is no mechanism in the rule book for teabagging your opponent, then no, we're not even.
Considering like every video game has been getting a board game version, like this was only bound to happen. I guess the better joke would have been like, if I was doing it back like the have you seen this, heard about this? Mm-hmm. I would make the joke like, Arcane Wonders is making a Call of Duty board game with Activision. The best part is you have to rebuy the board game every single year. That would be like if I was doing the classic stand-up joke. Big news for both video gamers and board game enthusiasts as Arcane Wonders announces a long-term partnership.
Okay, well, because there's like 20 Call of Duty games.
Yeah, that's what's like. We're just going to get like every year. It's like this one's the Ghost Pack, this one's the...
And it's all going to be cosmetics.
Yeah. Collaboration aims to produce Call of Duty the Board Game, a strategy series inspired by the hugely popular video game franchise. Pre-orders for the board game will open on Kickstarter in fall 2023. With a global release of 2024. Promises to provide an intense and immersive gaming experience combining strategy, tactical planning, and combat. You assume the roles of elite soldiers, blah, 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 blah. Let me see, is there anything in here that's... A variety of scenarios and gameplay modes will be available, allowing players to experience and share the excitement of Call of Duty in an entirely new format. We're thrilled to be partnering with Activision, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, yeah, this will probably do extremely well because all the COD bros will be like, oh, man, I got to get me that board game. Although I don't remember who it was, but somebody I know shared this announcement saying, like, I've been a part of this. It's going to be great.
Oh, cool.
So, like, again, don't remember who, but it was on my Facebook, which means it was somebody I know. I just don't remember the name off the top of my head. And so it could be good. There was that adrenaline game we played a while back, like one of our first Gen Cons.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like it was kind of to simulate like a shooter type of game.
Same kind of feeling. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
So at least with all the different board game stuff, this is different somewhat. Like it's not like a MOBA or a battle royale. I mean, there might be a battle royale mode, but or like Dead by Daylight, or even what's your game? The
Destiny.
No, well, not
Deep
that.
Rock Galactic.
Deep Rock Galactic. Those are at least different enough that we're not going to get unless somebody wants to make a Halo board game, like just like this Call of Duty one, but just Halo instead. I'm down for that. Yeah. So
I'm just trying to imagine what the 100 player Warzone map of the board game would be. Like you got to get 100 people together to all do.
That's the you play life size the life size game at Gen Con, and then it turns out you're just playing Call of Duty.
You're just actually playing Call of Duty.
All right. For this next story, there's going to be I bet there's a awful lot of dice involved in this next story.
Heyo.
And that is mall full of D&D players teamed up to defeat Vecna and set a Guinness World Record.
For an entire D&D group organizing in one point.
Yeah. The world record was getting people together at the same time. Needed 5. So Andrew Ashby, the owner of RPG Game Shop, We Geek Together, needed 500 players to cram themselves into the Provo Town Center Mall and agree to play one giant game of D&D. By the time dice started rolling, more than 1,200 people had answered the call and broken a world record.
Nice.
1,200 people playing D&D at the same time. They filled both floors and most of the open areas of the mall as they prepared to defend a castle against the sorceress lich Vecna, which apparently is one of D&D's most infamous foes.
Okay.
I've never heard of them.
The only time I heard of him was Stranger Things.
Okay. They worked with Johnny Jensen. That sounds like a fake name. I'm sorry. No offense, but that just sounds like Marvel, like Stan Lee came up with that. Johnny Jensen to construct an elaborate campaign that could support 200 separate parties. Okay, this is what I thought. So it's like a whole bunch of groups, and it's like their progress is working together.
Okay.
Kind of like the way the Epic games go for Arkham Horror, where it's like multiple groups of 4, all of their damage is being like attacked to the main bad guy. Organizing all this was a clever system of messengers tasked with relaying information between the dungeon masters of each table, as well as the head DM who served as the linchpin. So, I don't know. I'm heads and tails about this because, like, on one hand, that's awesome, and you would want to be a part of that.
Yes.
On the other hand, for some of those people, it was probably just fine. For the vast majority of those people, they're just playing on the floor of the mall.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting too old for that.
Yeah.
Like, I need maybe at like the food court table.
That could be
like you need like a mat, because like a lot of times they got like, well, sometimes they have the regular table, but I remember some of the food courts that had like the great kind of tables.
Okay, yep, the great
you
kind of
need
tables.
something to put on those to keep. And
it's always just the like 2-person tables right next to each other. They're wobbly as all hell.
Yeah, so yeah, it would just depend. Also, that's cool, but it would definitely suck to be anyone else going to that mall that day.
Uh-huh.
What the hell? I'm just hoping he warned the mall, like
that would put up months in advance,
or did like a permit thing, like, hey, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna bring all these people, but they're gonna play D&D. So all the restaurants were like, hell yeah, get the Doritos and Mountain Dew ready. We need them by the truck full.
All of the restaurants are just switching to that for the
Yeah, exactly. Like Taco Bell's like, we've been waiting for this our entire life. Oh man. So next up. Let me actually pull the story up. If you melted down vinyl figures and poured them into trays and then put them in the freezer, would you have Funko Pops?
Hey!
So we talked about this last time. but you are the only reason this story is in here.
Okay.
So remember we did the Indiana Jones. There was like the cryptic. That was like the escape room puzzle sort of thing.
Yes.
Well, they announced they're going to do another property, and it's Star Trek. So Funko gets cryptic with Star Trek. They're heading to the final frontier for its next escape room style puzzle game, Star Trek Cryptic, set to release in June.
All right.
Players must attempt to outwit a series of challenges using their deduction and problem-solving skills. They are guided by their pad and the 70-page logbook as they encounter subspace transmission, alien civilizations, and planetary disasters. Includes a total of 3 missions, each with its own set of components. Includes a whole bunch of stuff. It's got all the components here. MSRP is $35.
Oh, nice.
$35 for 3 Star Trek escape room games.
What is it? Up to 15 challenges?
15 pathway cards. Oh. Unique set of components offering a total of 15 Star Trek challenges. So maybe you can alter them slightly.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Mix and match. Yeah. Does it say what era it's set in?
It does not. It does not do that. But I mean, it's got the TOS. But if you blow up it's got the TOS logo, but that's an Enterprise D.
That's a Galaxy class.
Or
that's a Galaxy class. That's a Defiant.
Yeah. I don't know. For a second, that looked like a Intrepid, slightly like the aft of the ship did. But maybe I just haven't seen a good top-down view. There's a runabout. Yes, this does look very other-centric. So maybe it's all of them.
That could be.
That would make sense. So. Yeah, so Star Trek Cryptic.
Well, that's got my money. I'm already like. So, is there a pre-order available?
Yeah, I was gonna say Amazon, add to cart or add to wish list. All right, next up. So Gamma trade shows this weekend. So that's where we're getting a lot of this stuff.
All right, cool.
I will warn people that you don't have to worry about any Warhammer in this show, but there's going to be a lot next time because as we are recording this the Thursday before, so like a week before the podcast normally goes out. This weekend is Warhammer Fest, where they're doing a whole bunch of announcements, including 10th edition stuff.
Nice.
So next podcast, expect there to be
so much Warhammer.
So, if you took old golfers that were in retirement, brought them out of retirement, and had a tournament, would it be called the Remasters? So Paizo reveals a 2E remaster project, so second edition remastered.
Okay.
It's revealed the 2E remaster project, a multi-core rulebook refresh initiative and release that will begin starting November 2023. The goal is to offer fresh, updated editions of their core rulebooks as an entry point for new players. It comes as they recently ran out of Pathfinder 2E rulebooks during when they sold all their stock. We covered that on the show.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But the biggest thing is they'll start in 2020 November in November 23 with the Pathfinder player core book and a Pathfinder GM core book, and then 2024 March with Pathfinder monster core book and a Pathfinder core 2 book, player core 2 book. They'll all be released as hardcovers, and this version of the story doesn't say it. But they're saying that one of the other big things is this release is going to drop the OGL and move them onto their Orc license that they've been doing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest push. Like all the errata and everything is getting put in there. So there's people flipping out about this because a lot of people just jumped on, and so they're like, my books are useless, and they're like, no, the game's still we're not changing editions. It's just every new rule book
is Orc.
We're just not going to print the one you have. We're just all the reprints are
Okay.
So but it does mean there are some things they will drop in these new rule books, but it's not being dropped from the game.
Okay.
Because apparently things like alignment are OGL specific things. So
really?
You
can't make a legally distinct Orc version of it.
Right. Or at least not at this time. Maybe somebody they got till November to figure it out.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have to buy if you just got into second edition. You don't have to buy all these books. It's just if you're anyone just coming to it will be buying these versions. They will be different than.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they should talk for alignment. They should talk to. I've seen some stuff floating around on TikTok of brand new alignment chart. Evil good.
Oh, yeah.
and good evil and chaotic lawful.
Yeah. But I think even those terms might be like lawful and chaotic.
Okay.
And I don't know. I don't know how far the
Weird how
I've never studied the OGL to be able to tell you that.
the legality of words.
Yeah. So, yeah. So we'll see some new books. I keep joking every time I see this. I'm like, oh, so Pathfinder 2.5. But I guess it's more of like 2.1.
Yep.
Because it's still mostly the same. All right. Last story. This one's a biggie.
Okay.
Wizards of the Coast drafted some extraordinary help for this next story.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I went through a whirlwind of emotions on this story. Magic the Gathering publisher hires Pinkerton to seize leaked cards from YouTuber's house. So Pinkerton is a private investigator, which apparently is like a big part of like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay.
Because I kept seeing people refer to it, and that's
People
how they
were going
even
on
know
that,
that Pinkerton is a thing. So there were private investigators to a YouTube creator's house last week to retrieve mistakenly sold cards from an unreleased set. In doing so, the massive company upset the creator's home, allegedly harassed neighbors, and spawned a wave of criticism from the tabletop community and beyond. So there's a guy, Dan Cannon, old school NTG on YouTube. He posted a video opening a box of March of the Machine, The Aftermath, leaking the contents of a set that's not supposed to hit retail till May 12th.
Yeah.
They just finished releasing the previous set, March of the Machine. And they've been very tight-lipped because this is supposed to this is like ending the next chapter of their Magic multiverse story stuff. Okay. So, so the video exploded, apparently. Wizards found out. They sent these people. Wizards claims that they tried to reach out multiple times and got no response, and that's why they sent the Pinkertons. The guy says that the agents threatened jail time, huge fines, and other repercussions if he didn't relinquish the stolen product. So creator said he purchased the boxes from an acquaintance who did not realize March of the Machine, The Aftermath, was a substantively different MTG project than the recently released March of the Machine. So they took everything, including tokens and packaging, before giving them a number for a Wizards employee. The employee was very nice, very apologetic. According to Cannon, assured him that they didn't believe anyone stole the cards. They just wanted to know where to plug the hole that allowed apparently 22 reported boxes of booster packs to find their way to a seller and eventually his hands.
Oh, wow.
So the Wizards employee claimed the company would somehow compensate him with different cards at some point, but didn't offer specifics. So when I first read this story, I kind of missed the middle bits and jumped kind of to the end where it's like, oh, well, Wizards told them they're going to give him back, they give him, compensate him, this and that.
Yeah.
But then it was like, you go, and then people were like getting into it, and so I reread the story, and I was like, oh, like, this guy just bought a set of cards. Like, he didn't steal anything.
Yeah.
He just bought a box of cards from somewhere, and then people came up and demanded the product and threatening, like, a jail, like the dude's wife is crying because, these are, like, serious, it's like the Men in Black, basically, coming to your house. So it's just like, way to escalate. It's like, wow, that escalated quickly.
So
it's like
much
the dodgeball is like, that really got out of hand fast. And it's like, no, we didn't go like straight to, we didn't jump straight to, or we didn't. I saw a picture. This is the best way, where it was a set of stairs, and each step was like, send cease and desist notice, and ask nicely, threaten legal issues, and then it's like send agents, and it's like the leg is like a reaching
super
over.
long step. Yeah.
So
we skipped all the we're inferring they skipped all the steps because of the escalation.
Correct.
They claim they
Correct.
sent. Where are your receipts of sending those things?
Yeah, exactly.
Put that out there too.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we did try.
Because all of us, especially given all the mistakes they've made recently, it's like, who is doing these decisions? Because it's like, you just can't stop shooting yourself in the foot, can you? That's ridiculous.
Nuts.
And
also, like, hey, yeah, where'd those 22 boxes? Be like, did we accidentally mislabel a pallet?
Right.
And the boxes got shipped out. Like, warehouse.
And again,
shit happens.
like you pointed out, we don't know the whole story.
We don't.
We only know what's been put out there, and everybody likes the hate on Wizards of the Coast, so jumping on there. But if the story is as reported, I kind of feel like this guy does have legal rights to just sue for harassment because, to his knowledge, he purchased them legally.
Yes.
Like, he did not steal that. Like, yes, it was stolen. And this is I don't know the law. I don't know how it's like. Oh, like if you sell you get a knockoff or you get somebody steals an iPhone, but you bought it from like a legit shop.
Yeah.
Are you responsible for it because you didn't know? And it was funny because that I saw another meme that was how Games Workshop deals with leaks, and it's like, oh, hey, oops, I guess we'll do like the Dante figure being posted, and like, oh, I painted this like
we're a week early. Okay, just release
just release it. It's how Games Workshop send in the Pinkertons.
Yeah, man.
So
that was, and the whole one of the things people were shocked about is like the Pinkertons still exist.
Yeah,
like they were a union busting.
Apparently still are.
Or still are. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you sent it.
Apparently, they started off as defending Abraham Lincoln from assassination.
So, yeah, it's like you sent in the Space Marines for a jaywalking violation.
Yeah,
that's what you did.
Yeah. Well, not even like that's like the Inquisition because it's like not like it's not like the cops. They didn't send in the army or the cops.
Yeah,
they sent in like the secretive privates. Yeah, that's like you sent in the Inquisition
for jaywalking.
For jaywalking, yeah. So. That's our news right now.
That's the way the news goes.
So before we get to some of the other stuff we've been into, I will plug briefly patreon.com/boards and swords. Helps keep this mission afloat. We've got a lot of great stuff there. Like I said, this is a little bit of preview what you're going to get with some of the bonus stuff. I will say we got a brand new patron.
Yep.
We got a new $1 patron. It's someone you know.
Okay.
You remember Mr. Scooter Prime himself, Mark?
Yes.
Mark is now a patron.
Nice. What's up, Mark?
So thank you, Mark, for that. I know he recently just got married, so hopefully things are going well there. They went, of course. I mean, for knowing Mark, it makes sense they went to Disney World.
Okay.
So
all right. Yeah.
That's all. That's that. And in fact, fun story is in the previous iterations of this show, he was actually on the show at some point as a guest.
Cool.
Remember, we used to have him.
We did have him up on the screen. I remember that.
When it was us in the across from the table, and I had the two monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Always, it's congratulations, Mark and Mrs. Scooter Prime.
Yeah.
Always good to find someone to put up with your bullshit.
Wait, Mark's?
Huh?
Mark's or hers?
Yes.
Okay.
But you found someone to put up with your bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
No one wants to put up with my bullshit except for Chris.
Yay. boardsandswords.com/Patreon or patreon.com/boardsandswords. They both work. We don't care if you wanna do the $5. That's cool. But we like the people we appreciate more are the people like Mark with just $1 because we know it's insignificant, but we appreciate it. And we're well past the deadline I set, but yeah, still, if we hit the $50, I'm gonna do the Love Mutants at Castle Heartache.
Yes.
RPG. It's at that point. Maybe that'll have to be the thing. Is like every quarter or so.
Oh yeah.
If we stay at the $50, then we'll do some crazy, and we'll do Patreon, like getting the patrons' input of what adventure they want to see next. So
put up a poll.
All right, so Vegas time. So
man.
why are we here in Vegas?
We are here in Vegas for you can't see it, but I've got the wristband.
Yeah.
Viva TMS Vegas 2023.
Yep.
TMS is apparently a podcast called The Morning Stream.
Yep. So this is a podcast.
Cool
It's Scott Johnson, Brian Ibbett. It's been going since 2011. I've been listening to Scott Johnson's shows since like 2009, 2008.
Oh wow!
And he's done all these different meetups and stuff. And there's one or twice I've tried to go, and then something came up. But it's always been on this side of the country, So it's a lot harder to get here than it is to say get Gen Con, for instance.
Yeah.
But then this year it was finally like, all right, we're gonna go, and I'm gonna check to make sure. I'm always scared that something's gonna run out.
Oh, something's gonna
and
stop.
in fact, we're gonna have later in this episode. I'm talking with Scott Johnson about because he just launched a Kickstarter for Dungeon Murder, which has already been successfully funded, but I get to pick his brain for a little bit. So you'll hear that towards the end of the show. But to help remind me of like stuff to talk about.
That's right. You said you had bullet points.
Yeah, I came up with you're in Vegas when.
Okay.
And kind of bullet points to kind of help me remember stuff. But so before we get into that, let's talk about the event specifically because I've been listening to the show for ever since it started, but you'd never heard you heard me probably talk about these people before.
I might have heard the words "the morning stream" at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you were just like, this was more of, hey Philip, I'm going to Vegas. You want to go?
Yeah, I want to go to Vegas.
So
ever since I came last year, I was like, I need to go with people.
Yeah.
I need to go with people.
Now, unfortunately, we were here.
Unfortunately, Chris was the only person available.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're here because it was kind of we had to make some changes last minute, and so and because we were going to originally stay on the Strip, and then, but I would definitely say, if we were to come back, definitely staying at the Plaza or one of those near the Plaza.
Ones on Fremont.
I mean, honestly, Plaza
checking.
would probably be the best, just because it's like
It's right there.
There were so many people doing like hangouts and stuff to where like we got to make an hour trip back on the bus, so like.
But then it would be, I gotta wait 30 seconds for the elevator to my floor.
Yeah, but like I could be half asleep in doing that.
You could.
Or like going to the pool and just hanging out, that kind of thing. But there's a bar at the pool.
Oh, there's a bar.
I mean,
at
there's
the pool.
Vegas, so of course
There's
there's a bar at the
There's
pool.
a bar. There's a bar
And then
inside
we had the live show.
The live show was cool.
Yeah.
More of a listening experience for me, but I was okay with that.
Yeah, that was it was done in like a music venture, and they weren't on stage. They were kind of next to the stage, so we were in kind of like the back row, and there was a platform, so you couldn't really see down to them.
Yeah.
That's my biggest critique, was just like they should have been on stage, but they were also gonna have music, so I guess that wouldn't have worked. But that was the other big part, is because we had all this going on, and because it was been kind of like go, we didn't stay for the live music, and it was kind of like, we're about to fall asleep. Let's make the journey. Let's get some food and make the journey back.
Yep.
So, and then Wednesday we so I wanted to pick your brain about the live show first.
Okay.
But so you're in Vegas when you see slots the second you step off the airplane. like I knew there were slot machines in the airport. I did not expect them to be the first thing I see coming out of the what's the
gate.
The gate, yeah, coming out of the terminal, or the gate, not the terminal, but the gate is immediately seeing slot machines.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. I get it.
You've got a captive audience.
Yeah.
So
especially
put some slot
like
machines in front of them.
you gotta wait, especially if you got an hour. You're not even going to Vegas. You're just you got a layover, and it's like, well, might as well. I'm here. When in Vegas.
Yep. Exactly.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, especially if it's your money.
That's right. So much money.
Also, you're in Vegas when there's a designated limo pickup line at the airport. Like where we live, the limos are just a part of the pickup lanes, like the third party pickup lanes, and or like the taxis and stuff. And even then, you may see like one limo. Here, it's like there's a bunch of them lined up, and it's just like
rows.
Yeah.
A whole entire dedicated
I guess that's
line.
you got to get that like MGM Noir. And it's like we'll pick you up in the limo. No. Don't worry. You don't need to worry about the bus.
We will send somebody a baggage claim for you.
Yeah. That was one thing where it was like kept seeing in the chat everybody talking about like, how expensive the Ubers and Lyfts were getting to their hotel. Like to the Plaza, it was like $40.
Up there, yeah.
Like for us, it would have only been like $15, but still I was kind of like, eh. So I found the bus, and it was like $20 for a 3-day pass. I was like,
Get the bus pass,
yeah, I'm doing that. And then there was a lot of walking involved, but I I only had my bag. I did not expect you to do that.
I didn't expect me to do that either.
So I flew.
dumb.
I flew Spirit. So I had just my backpack, and then I packed another bag because he flew Southwest. So you got 2 free bags. So I was like, I'm not gonna. Why pay? In fact, it was even you. It was like, why are you paying for a bag? Just give me the extra bag, and then I'll take it. I was like, okay, if you're cool with that. And then he tells me, he's like, yeah, I walked all the. First of all,
I walked the 1.6 or 7 miles.
First of all, I didn't expect him to take the bus with the luggage because managing 2 luggages on the bus is one thing. But then he didn't even. So there's a changeover. You take the bus up basically to the street that the Oyo's on, and then you take another bus to go all the way down the 1 point whatever, almost 2 miles down to the Oyo. And so that's what I did. I did not. He not only took the bus, he then walked the 2 things of luggage all the way down Tropicana Boulevard.
All the way down. Yeah, that was It sucked until I got close enough to the MGM Grand for the sun to be blocked by the MGM Grand. Then everything was better.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we learned very quickly that I gotta say, like, the transportation system, the public transit system is great. Like, it's very smooth. The buses are all clean. They look fairly new. The Deuce buses are awesome, where it's the double decker, so you can like get up top and see the strip.
I didn't realize like.
And did you see we had like the air vents up above us too?
Yeah, we had those. Also, I guess 5'9" is like the perfect height for the top layer.
Yeah.
There were some people still crouched over him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's.
However, the downside is because they got all the F1 stuff going on, and there's so much construction, a lot of the strip, there's only like half the strip available road-wise, and so both lanes of traffic are on it. So, like, once you got past the Sahara, or to the Sahara, depending on which way you were going, it was fine. The bus was traveling normal. But once you got into that mess, it was like another hour and a half just to get the 3 blocks or whatever. So we learned very quickly to avoid the strip.
Take the out.
Yeah, go out and take some of the side street buses up to the plaza for those things. So, also, you're in Vegas. This is just easily, you see a Lambo in real life for the first time. Like, I could have touched it.
Oh, you could have actually touched it.
Like not like
not the bros at PAX East that were screaming down the road. Okay.
Yeah, or that, or like if you see it like far away on like display somewhere. No, this was like it's like I could touch you, but there was somebody in the car. I almost took a picture, but there was somebody in the car. It was getting pulled up to be valeted. So it was like I literally walked in for like it was over at the MGM.
Okay,
and in that big area you cross over to get to inside of it.
All the valet stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of the MGM, and I was like, when a meal for one costs about as much as a decent date night back home. Yeah. That's where like the Steak and Shake broke my heart. Because they were like, man, I'm gonna eat so much Steak and Shake because it's so cheap, and then you get here
right
and it's not. Or at least it's not here. Like, I expected there to be an upcharge because it's Vegas. I did not expect it to be double, triple what it costs at, like, Gen Con.
That was nuts.
Yeah. And it's especially nuts compared to when we found another Steak and Shake up by the plaza that was, like, more like actual Steak and Shake price. That was what I expected Vegas Steak and Shake to be. Because it was, like, the double with cheese and the stuff was, like...
It's like $7-8.
$8-9. It was closer to closer to 10.
9,
It was like 13, 14, 15 downstairs. Yeah. You're in Vegas when Philip hits on a 17 in blackjack.
I thought I could do it.
So
the dealer hits on a 17.
Hits on soft 17. Soft 17 means there's aces involved.
Okay, see, these are stupid rules.
So you didn't really gamble last time, other than like you did a couple penny slots.
Did some slots, yeah. That was it.
But we came up here. I was like, I'm gonna try and gamble, like just to get the full experience.
He's over here doing research about it too.
I did because it was like
you got to figure it out.
Well, because it was like like I had tried slots back home.
I was doing brainless stuff. Oh, slots, hit the button.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like because when I tried slots before, it was like I don't get it. Like yeah, sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, but it's just like there's nothing to it. Like it can't like, like if it was an app, like try and gamify it to where it's like, do I hit it at what top point do I hit it to try and get the things to line up?
Okay, yeah.
There's so much. Maybe there is a way of doing that. There's so much going on the machine. I don't know.
Yeah. Some of these things.
But
what are you looking
when I was waiting, so when we had Bacon Nation, which is amazing. And in fact,
so
you're
good.
in Vegas when there's a place called Bacon Nation.
Bacon Nation.
And then like you would use the bathroom, and I was waiting for you. There was an old man at the machine, and he was just tapping the button, and like it wasn't even like he was hitting it more than like it wasn't even ready yet. He's just sitting there slapping the button.
Oh wow.
And I'm just like, see. That's why I don't like slots, because it's literally that's all you're doing. It's like at least with a game, there's like a decision involved. Like yes, it's still rigged, everything's still house advantage and all that stuff, but I'm doing more than just
Hitting the
I have to think for a second. So so I was doing some research and I was like, okay. Plus, hey, this is gaming.
This
is a card game, dice game. So I was like, okay, what's the best? Like, what are my best chances? Because I'd heard some sayings that like craps are sometimes the best ones to play, and a lot of people were talking about how the best player advantage you get is when you play what's called basic strategy in blackjack. And even then, you're still at a disadvantage. You're just at a less disadvantage than anything else. What? No, you look like you're about to say something.
No.
So it's like, okay, like I know how to play blackjack, but what is basic strategy? And there's a whole bunch of things you can memorize. I didn't even remember all of it. I did like a basic summary of one and then a couple of tips, because this is obviously like if I had started a month ago, I probably could have memorized everything. And in fact, I think they make cards that you can some places allow you to have it at the table.
your little reference.
Yeah, because it's like I have this, dealer has this, hit.
Okay.
Stand or double down or whatever. So that and I mean, I lost everything, but I did have moments where I was like, it'd be great is if I could make the $200 up my pledge manager for the BattleTech Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
I was like, that would be cool. That would be like, I don't need to hit multi-millions or whatever. I got close. I got close, where I was up at one point $130 because one of the casinos we were at, the D.
Oh yeah, with the 25.
I keep wanting to call it the Big D, and that's just like.
In all fairness, its logo is a giant letter D on the side of the hotel.
Because they were doing a thing if you flew Spirit Southwest.
We're like, that's awesome.
Then you got 225 match chips. And so I was like, okay, I'll put 50 down and then put 50 down and then play that. You got $100 to play with and all that. And I managed to do it to where I made money off of both of those.
Both your matches.
Both match chips. So I was up 130 $130. And then I should have just walked away. But it was weird because it was not like you want to say it's like, I got to get more. And that's why, like me, it was more of, I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
Like I just want to
figuring it out, man.
And I wasn't like, I'm all in now to try and double this. It was like, no, it just kept getting piecemealed away, and I just went on a losing streak and lost it all. So it wasn't I could have gotten close. But I did make, I broke even on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I had another run today where I was up $40 because we got here at the we got some match plays there, managed to get that up, and I walked away that time.
We did. We walked away.
I did walk away, but then you were up here taking a nappy nap.
Yeah.
And I had that stack of chips and like another $20 because I had set aside. I was like, this is how much I'm gonna.
It's how much I'm willing to lose.
Yeah, I'm willing. This is my budgeting for gambling, and I was like, well, I haven't hit that yet. So I took that. So I had like $60. Went into the video blackjack machine because you could bet like just $1.
$1.
Yep. And then I tried this like betting thing where it's like doubling. Like they were talking about it at the thing. It's like doubling every time you lose. That's great until you run out of money because you've only got $60 in the machine and you're betting like $18 a time, and you're on a losing streak, so you keep doubling, and then it's like, well, dang it, I just lost all that real quick.
1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32.
Yeah, I got to like 16, and then it was like, damn it. And then like after that, I was like, crap, I'm down to like $6, and I managed to play like conservatively then, but even then you can only go so far. So that strategy is great as long as you got a bankroll that you can afford to keep playing through the losses to get to that win.
To get to that
because
spot, yeah.
once you get to the win, you'll get all your money back, but you have to make it to that win first.
Yeah.
So
because that's one of the things that a lot of the it's like watching a lot of people play slots on TikTok and they're hitting big, but then you look at so some of this is from like the what you've won, and then it just goes into your credits,
right?
But like they hide that portion. They got the camera angle set so you can't see how many credits are in the machine. But then they're like, oh yeah, we just hit the $80,000 jackpot on this machine. Yeah, but with you feeding money and the little bit you've won, there's $1,200 in credits. Sitting on the.
Did
machine.
you see that with that? There's actually a lot of people are in trouble for that because it turns out a lot of those creators were getting comped money to play those slots because people were thinking like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to make a bunch of money. And therefore, they were getting a lot of money to those casinos or to those online slots. And so the online slots were just giving them credit lines, or just like, here you go, here's $10,000. Go for it. And then people being like, oh my gosh, I can do this with and no. So speaking of us playing blackjack, you're in Vegas when the dealer calls the pit boss over and you freak out that you did something wrong. So remember how I said I had learned some basic strategy, but I had never I hadn't gotten all of it.
Yep.
Well, some of those times it was like
those were on page 2.
Yeah. Well, no. It was just like remembering when you double down, and so to double your bet, and that's a good way of getting like really upping your money. But so I had a 12. I think the dealer had a 4.
Okay.
And so I doubled. I was like, I know it's like you're not supposed to double down because there's a good chance I'm going to bust. So I said I'm going to double down because I was like, well, I mean, like I'm kind of feeling it and this and that, and like my odds are not terrible. So like I'm going to double down. And then suddenly the dealer's like, I got to double down on a 12. And I'm like, like one of the guys is coming over to watch me, and I'm like, what the hell? Later, afterwards, it kind of kicked with me. I was like, oh, I wonder if it's a signal I might be card counting.
Oh, okay.
And I looked it up later, and it's yes, because the odds are so bad, because like the chances of you drawing a card that's worth a 10, like overall in blackjack, the chances of you drawing a 10 are really high because a good portion of the deck are cards with 10 values.
Yep.
And that's a lot of the basic strategy revolves around kind of knowing that. So when you double down on a 12, because the chances of you pulling off are so low, then it's a sign you could be card counting because it's like, oh, they've got information that the next card's not going to be the good chance of that. So I was like, I think even made a joke about it at the table. And so, yeah. Which is weird because like immediately after they switched dealers, and I was like, was that me? Like,
yeah, that one. I don't think the dealer change was you, but the whole pit boss. That was holy crap, man.
Yeah, that was intense. Do you want to talk about Bacon Nation?
Bacon Nation was amazing. The only critique we have, okay, they have an item on there called the 3 Little Pigs. And that gets you 3 slices of bacon. The bacon was like, what, 1/4 inch thick and good 10 inches long?
I know. I would say that bacon was at least a foot long.
At least a foot, yeah. That was amazing, and it's so good.
It's the only time I've ever had to cut bacon with a knife.
And they had multiple flavors. They had sriracha, honey barbecue, chocolate. That was not bad. Candied bacon, maple bacon.
Barbecue.
Oh, yeah. That was
jalapeno, all these different ones.
Which, like, the dude ordered jalapeno bacon, and it just had, like, 5 slices of jalapeno on it. And I was like, that's...
Yeah, that was a little disappointing where it was like when the barbecue one came over and it was just literally barbecue on the thing. Like I thought like maybe it's been fried with the barbecue or
sauce.
like, like
And the chocolate one really just had it like dipped halfway
yeah.
in chocolate.
Like to me, chocolate bacon would be we dipped the thing like chocolate coated bacon. That would be chocolate bacon for me.
Yes.
And like barbecue bacon would be like we marinated it in
It
barbecue.
just sat there for a couple days. Yeah.
So that was, but it was still good. I mean, it was.
Oh yeah, it was very good.
But we ordered. But you could get like a plate of 3. But you were talking about like you should be able to get like a flight of all of them.
Every single flavor, even chop them in half.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been cool too.
The shot glass version.
Yeah, that would have been so great. Which we then later that day or yesterday,
What?
as we're walking around the Coke store, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Like the Coke store, they've got 16 flavors.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Hey, get all 16 flavors." We're like, yes.
Yeah,
That's what
because like
bacon is.
Cokes around the world. And, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Place open?
Huh?
No, we're not walking.
Yeah. Yeah, because I tried the maple bacon, which was good. I mean, pretty close to kind of what you get back home, like as far as taste. I got the candy bacon, which was just too much. It's not like Sandy still got him beat on the candied bacon.
Okay.
Because hers is like a little bit more like dried and like self-contained, whereas this was
Yeah.
just kind of messy. And then there was the barbecue bacon, which was pretty good.
It's bacon and barbecue sauce.
Yeah. It was basically like if for some reason you had bacon on your plate with like chicken and you had to put barbecue sauce on there and like the barbecue dip, the bacon ended up like the side of it ended up getting covered in bacon or in barbecue. That's what it was like.
Unless you're one of those people who's like, no, my food can't touch. Whole new plate.
So you're in Vegas when prizes on a free spin machine range from $10 match play, which is what I got, and that's what I was using later, to commemorative shot glass.
Commemorative shot
which
glass.
is what Philip got.
Yep.
And then, speaking of the casino, the D where we were playing, when the casino is, you're in Vegas when the casino is so loud, you can let a huge fart rip and no one notices until Philip smells it. Because like he's getting money out of the ATM, and suddenly he's just like.
Yeah,
like
and a crowd of people had walked by. And
it was also we were right across from the coffee bar.
Yes,
and you're like, I think that coffee's right. I'm like, no, that
coffee's
was,
wrong.
I was like, no,
dude.
that was me. I had to go. I've been having digestive issues. I've been gassy as hell.
That's why I brought Gas X.
Yeah,
And Lactaid.
yeah. So that talks about a lot of the stuff we've done. So then also. We went to Omega Mart.
Omega Mart was so awesome.
Yeah.
Expensive,
but
it was
actually
expensive.
par for what we've seen. $50 seems to be about what it takes to do.
For a decent experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their website might actually be omegamart.com.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's an exhibit inside of a place that's got a bunch of other. It's a very artsy kind of place.
Oh yeah, and real. They were playing up a lot of the stuff too. Like all the people are like, and walking around, going through the game, which I maybe I should have paid attention to the Discord or something because people were like, oh yeah, the banana thing. I'm like, what the hell was that?
Well, that
there was a second quest line inside.
We didn't hear about that till we were gone, so like it wouldn't have really mattered. But so basically, it was like an art exhibit / imagine if Black Mirror did an episode about a grocery store. It's kind of like the vibe I got off of it, where you walk in and it just looks like a grocery store. Like it doesn't look like anything special, except for once you look at the food, all the products look really weird. Like my favorite one was the plausible deniability laundry detergent that you could actually buy, and it's like make your Y's lighter or whiter.
Make your lies whiter. Yeah.
Yeah. There was all the other sorts like cereals, like totally doesn't contain spiders and all sorts of stuff.
I was the consensually and non-consensually squeezed orange juices.
Yes, yeah, that was
Those
great.
were...
And like suddenly you'd be in one place and like it looked like someone just like smeared the products. Like you've got all the products, and suddenly it's like the reality shifted, and there's just like a huge smear, and then suddenly picks up again. And so like you go in there and you'd be thinking like, what the hell is with all this? But then you continue looking around, and like you can open up the fridge and walk into the fridge, and then suddenly behind the Omega Mart is this like whole big like sci-fi looking experience. Like it's basically like a giant playground almost.
Oh yeah.
Or like an adult playground where like you can go around. There was like a little fun racing thing where you could chase some lights around.
Oh, chase the lights around.
Yeah,
there
and then there was like a factory set up. There was like an office kind of set up and like this like monolith sort of thing.
There was something you could actually do with the cameras, but I could never figure it out. Like you had to hit the
there
buttons.
was a security center where you could like move the cameras and stuff around. But there was a story involved.
Yes.
And that's where like you paid for the card and got the story of everything going through there. And that's where the Black Mirror kind of piece is, and you learn like the lore of the story and stuff. And Black Omega Mart is evil.
Yep.
So that was really cool.
That was a fun experience. I would definitely recommend doing that.
Because it was only $3 extra.
Yeah, it was $3 to get the ticket from the card.
And you only need one person. Like if you're going in a group, you only need one person to do it.
Yeah. When they talked about the symbol, like I was hoping the symbol would also be hidden elsewhere in the artwork.
When they first saw that, I was like, okay, do I need to be like, whenever there was like pictures on the wall, I'm like looking for the symbols and stuff.
Is it like Disney? We're checking for the hidden Mickeys?
Yeah, exactly. So then there was that. Then there was a live show after that. Then the next morning we did board games, or afternoon we did board games.
Yeah.
And then where I had a bunch of people, I brought Dungeon Fighter because I figured that in a group setting,
just seeing all the crazy stuff you have to do to.
And it was basically went over as you would expect. Yeah. We lost, obviously. We had 5 people playing. I think that's the most I've had play Dungeon Fighter. But yeah, it was totally a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
And then meanwhile, Philip was like basically taking a nap outside because I think you were run to death.
Yeah, I needed some me time there.
And then afterwards, we went to the Player One video game bar. That was amazing.
That is so great.
So officially, they were having a video game tournament where like they had a bracket and they were matching people up. But we didn't get in on that, so we were just there hanging out and just like this place had a ton of arcade cabinets. Basically every seat at the bar, there was like a Switch controller there hooked up to a TV behind you, so you can just be having your drinks and eating your chips or whatever, nachos and racing Mario Kart and stuff.
Yes.
And then in one of the back areas, they had like basically theater chairs and regular consoles hooked up. Yeah. So I was playing towards the end of the night, I played a couple rounds of Halo.
Okay.
Halo 2 on like lockout with like the dual wheeling, and then we did some Halo 3. It was me, Shane Maddox, and Squishy.
Okay.
We're playing that, and of course I won because the Halo memory's still in there.
The muscle
strong.
memory's right there.
I tell you what, the Guitar Hero memory not there. I was so out of shape for a Guitar Hero, and I wasn't even doing the expert like I used to could. But that place was great. That's the kind of place that like I wish we had back home.
Yes.
Even if it was like DC, like it was only like $8 a cover charge.
Oh yeah, the cover charge was amazing.
They're making and everything's set on free play except for the pinball machines. Everything's set on free play, and they're making all their money from drinks basically, because it's a bar. And so it's just one of those things. It's like, man, this,
if we could have that, if we get something like that, DC Baltimore area, so that would be.
Oh, why don't you do it, man? Like, man, you know how much startup money there would be just in.
Oh my yes.
Arcade cabinets alone, there would be so much startup costs. Not to mention the permits and everything involved in like the bar aspect, the alcohol aspect, and all the restaurant, the business bar owning part of it. Just the stuff outside the bar that you're not even making money off of. Yeah. That alone would just be like tremendous. So yeah, today got up, didn't have anything we needed to do.
Nothing to do.
Got to try out the MGM buffet. Mm-hmm. That was okay.
Yeah.
My buffet
days.
Wish
I'd been a little hungrier.
Yeah, my buffet days may be just behind me because I'm trying to eat better. But
now it's like, oh yeah, I'll add on the $3 for the salad bar.
Yeah,
that'll be my new buffet experience.
Yeah, exactly. And
here we are.
Mm-hmm. So
leaving out tomorrow.
Yeah, leaving out tomorrow. Hanging away, flying away.
Leaving on a jet plane.
That's where I was starting to go.
Don't know when I'll be back again. On a jet plane.
So before we get to the interview, I will say I told you to be prepped with this. So
And I forgot.
We're in Vegas,
Mhm.
and all these different casinos. 90% of them owned by MGM. But I was sitting there like, okay, what would be great show content is let's design, because ideas are free.
Mhm.
Let's design a gamer, because it's technically gaming. Everyone's gaming
Yes.
technically. Let's design the gamers casino.
Mm-hmm.
My original thought was like, what's the tabletop gamers casino? But we can expand it out to video games and stuff as well. The obvious answer is esports betting.
Esports betting.
You got the Bet MGM stuff, but you've got people playing. Not just there, they're having on the walls. This would be like you'd have a pit of people playing, and then
you're betting on
an arena, and you're watching the people. You're watching the people sweat, and not
as
only,
they're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I got $20 on 6.
Yeah,
right there.
Same thing. You could also do that with. So you'd have tournaments like. You got your tables for poker, blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
You have Catan tables and Munchkin tables.
Yep.
But then you'd also have the pit would be, or the area would be marked off, and you could have people betting on those games.
Oh, I'm just taking it to Munchkin real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Having the shoe for blackjack, and there's 12 standard Munchkin decks all just mixed up in there for the kicking down the door and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Oh, that would be.
Or then you also have it the they had at the D where she presses the thing and it comes up and just slides
that was
it in.
so cool to watch.
And then it comes down and just a new deck of shuffle deck comes up.
That was
because
cool
every
to
other
see.
place they're hand shuffling it and putting it back in the
shoe.
Back in the shoe. So that would be one thing. But also. It's not a thing at Vegas unless you've got people on the strip in front of the hotel, showgirls or people promote. I was like, how you got Sonic and Mario costumes. You could have somebody in a meeple costume.
Yes.
Take a picture with me, only $50.
Running around. Yeah.
So what else?
Rotating life-size versions of games. That could be. Because we see Catan at Gen Con all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But what else could you
the
switch to?
Giant King of Tokyo. They'll have it.
Giant King of Tokyo.
They'll have that at Gen Con sometimes.
That what was the? This might be King. The one that we had the little monster that you had to drop, or you had to
Rampage.
Rampage. Yeah.
Terror in Meeple City or whatever the official name got changed to.
Yeah, life-size version of that. That'd be great.
With huge stuffed animals that you'd
make it all out of foam and everything. Yeah.
I made the joke where it's whenever you're walking through, people are like, "You want some free tickets or whatever that?" Or is the guy at the MGM today was like, "You want to see a new show on a new TV show?"
Yeah.
You'd have people "You want to see a new podcast?" Or the theaters, the shows that you'd have a David Copperfield.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have various Critical Role.
Oh yeah,
Performing live or the Dimension 20 or
Critical Role D20. All
some group performing D&D live.
Who's guys from PAX?
Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yeah, get those kind of shows in there.
Performing live. Give us if you got any tips. Comments, feedback at boardsandswords.com. Let us know. But let's see what else we got.
Some sort of VR experience?
Some sort of That's obvious with the hey $50 an hour.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. So you got the slot machines, and obviously you'd have the themed. You'd have a Ticket to Ride themed slot machine, a Monopoly themed slot machine. But I'm trying to think of outside of those obvious things. What else? What else is in a casino that we're missing?
Themed restaurants.
You could have, how how there'll be person doing caricature drawing.
Yeah.
It could be miniature painting.
Oh.
Let me paint this miniature like you. Thank you. That'll be $100.
Yep.
I don't know.
Actually, you definitely get in with the theme restaurants. Do like your
Yeah.
straight up tavern.
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Like you could have a sci-fi looking bistro and
Yeah.
then like a fantasy tavern kind of thing. And then of course there's like the Taco Bell.
One of the tables is a mimic.
you know how the Bellagio's got the fountains?
Yeah.
Mountain Dew fountain.
Yeah, I get to think. This would be. Would you want to start it in Vegas though?
I think Vegas is the only place you could pull it off.
Okay.
I feel like that's one of those kitschy Vegas ideas that only works in Vegas, I think. Because it's different. It's also different enough from all the other casinos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any other city you could make that.
Any of the other, yeah, because like the
Other than the only other place that you could do it is as an exhibit at Gen Con.
As an
where it's
exhibition,
like
yeah.
we rented this space for the week and we're making like a casino looking type thing. But it's not like a permanent business. It's just like a pop-up thing.
yeah. I was just thinking some of the other big, like when people talk about big like Atlantic City.
I mean, probably. I've never been to Atlantic City, even though
neither.
it's closer to us.
Yeah.
But yeah, like places like that. But also, I feel like Vegas is just weird enough that you could do that. And there's already like gaming stuff here. Like, you know, we're not that far from the Gamma trade shows going on in Reno right now.
Yep.
The Dice Tower West, I think, happens here in Vegas.
Oh, cool.
Because there used to be like MeepleCon. There's actually a Meepletown, board game restaurant / cafe / game store. It's way off the strip, so I didn't.
And that would be the other thing, because there's like stores in the hotels.
Well, yeah, that was
But,
like a gift shop and
yeah.
stores and that sort of thing.
Have your do Kickstarter launches in like one of the ballrooms and everything. Yeah, that'd be.
Then you start having betting on the Kickstarter.
Yes.
I got You only get 1-to-1. You only get 1-to-1 odds on the CMON Kickstarter funding.
Yes.
But I give you 5-to-1 odds on this random publisher over here.
5 to 1. No. 13 to 1. Do some random number.
Yeah.
There we go.
This Kickstarter has not delivered its game before, so we're going to give you 10-to-1 odds on that funding.
That would be there would be a specific section, a specific like
We'll give you 1-to-1 odds on shipping changes.
there would be a specific section that never goes away on the betting thing of when will Star Citizen actually be version 1.0?
The bets just keep going up.
Yeah, it just keeps going up.
Man, when that sucker pays out.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I think that's so I'm going to send it over. We'll send it over to Scott Johnson.
Chris is going to send it over to Chris with his interview.
Past Chris is now going to take it up and talk to Scott Johnson about Dungeon Murder. Hey, everybody. I'm here with podcaster, artist, game designer also.
I guess now.
Extraordinaire, Scott Johnson. Because now you're this is your sophomore game, right?
Yeah, this is my second attempt. The first one was a game called Rock Runners, which I'm also very proud of. But Rock Runners is interesting in that it was based on a game that my parents taught me using just playing cards back in the day. And this was an attempt to say, well, I'm new to this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start low, take a thing I already know, and let's skin it. It's not a game anywhere else. Nobody makes a retail version of this. So I'm just going to take this old folksy game and put a coat of paint on it and modern it up and, do this sci-fi treatment and all this stuff I did to it and see how it goes. And it went really well. We had a very successful run on Kickstarter and was able to get those shipped out and everybody fulfilled, and I'm really happy with it. But even immediately in the aftermath of that, there was this feeling in the back of my head like, all right, now I've got my feet wet on the production side, what it takes, what you have to do. What I really want to do is stretch in the mechanics department, in the sort of balance
Design
areas
from the
ground up, exactly.
Modifying something.
Right. And the nice thing is, like all games, video games, board games, whatever, iteration is a thing.
Right.
You got a lot of stuff that's come before, and they have some interesting ideas, and some of that you can take and put your own spin on. So there's a bit of that in my new project. There's a bit of homegrown, 100% out of my own head stuff, and packaged in such a way that I think it's going to be a pretty fresh experience for people.
It's Dungeon Murder, by
Dungeon
the way.
Murder.
We forgot to mention that at the beginning.
Yes,
The already
Dungeon-
funded
Yeah.
Dungeon Murder.
Yeah, we announced it last night here at this event, and it went really quick. Just a few hours later, we'd funded, and which is funny because I hadn't really announced it to the world proper. I
Right.
just told this local event about it, and a bunch of them obviously jumped on, but I think word got out, and some people found it.
Well, you'd mentioned it. I mean, the fact of that it was coming, you had mentioned on like TMS before.
Various shows, yeah.
Yeah,
I've made a
so-
big deal about it coming. The biggest problem was the last year or so has been interesting because I finished things up or got it really to where it roughly is now. There's been a bunch of stuff since, but really that was November.
Yeah.
Ironically, while I had COVID, day 3 of COVID is when I really went crazy with it. And I don't know what caused that. That was a weird side effect of COVID because most people are like dead tired and don't want to move. And I felt that way, but I was like, I'm going to get this game done.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of the artwork then. I did all this other layout stuff. So a lot of what got done last fall. So between then and now, the ensuing 6 months or whatever, I guess less than that a little bit, has been tweaking, finalizing, play testing, and trying to get it in shape enough to actually get it kickstarted. And then this last week and a half has been a pain because
Just
we were waiting for
waiting for it
Kickstarter
to-
to
yeah.
approve this stupid thing so that we could then launch it. We decided to do it here. It surprised me because I thought, well, until I get home and can actually get all the socials lined up, get everything linked where it needs to be, get more video done, all that this is just going to lag a little in the beginning.
Right.
And I was okay with it to do that. But already I'm kind of blown away. So the pressure's on. Got to deliver. We did a big play test today in
Yeah.
our game room for about, I don't know how many it was.
I mentioned earlier you screwed up by winning most of the games.
I won 3, maybe 2 because my memory's not great, but it was either 2 or 3 of the games. And that never happens. I
Yeah.
lose most of the time. But no one believes me here.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is,
Well, that's the thing is everybody expects you to win because you know the rules
Yeah.
and all the quirks. That's why you have to purposely lose.
Yeah, I
so
should
that
have
everyone's
thrown
like,
the
oh,
game.
I beat the guy that designed the game.
But even then, what's crazy about it is I've worked really hard on these rules and balancing, and I've printed 2 or 3 alpha decks, and I'm on my beta deck, final beta deck now.
Right.
And even then, there's been changes, and I've changed. They're not even showing here what I have locally. But even today, 2 or 3 scenarios came up that
Yeah, I
were
saw you
total
taking
flukes.
notes.
Total flukes. I'd never considered it. Hadn't happened before. No one's ever asked it before. And I
Right.
went, oh crap.
Yeah.
But not a bad oh crap, because I'm far enough along where I've covered most of my bases and done most of that work. All that's left is little stuff like, there's a card called Rebuke, which
Yeah.
lets you just basically, if somebody tries to do a gnarly move on you, this will stop it.
Yeah.
It's a really great card to have. And there's only a couple of them in the deck. And so what I hadn't considered is, what if someone with Rebuke rebukes the guy who does a thing? And then that
Yeah.
guy also has Rebuke. Can he rebuke back?
You get into this cycle.
And the answer is no, but up till now I haven't had to ask the question.
Right.
So it's a little bit like Dispel or
Counterspell. I think.
Counterspell. There you go.
Someone talking about.
Counterspell is a great example because you can just counterspell yourself to death if that's what you can do. We don't want that. So a couple of those things came up, and I'm like, easy peasy, jot those down, get home. I can change card description, I can change rules, and have it immediately reflect it. I haven't had anything today or leading up to this in the last, let's say, 2 months of development where I've run into any walls. It's all been, or having to completely redo something.
Gotcha.
The thing closest to that was I had people who saw the game and saw that it was kind of color-coded based.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're collecting cards based on some colors in a lot of cases. And I don't think of these things because I'm dumb this way, but somebody said, Scott, these are going to be hard for colorblind folks, and they love board gaming, so
Yeah.
what are you going to do? And I went, oh, you're right. Let's make this more accessible. So I went through a big rigmarole to figure out what symbols I was going to use, because symbols can now be matched along with the colors, and how to make them present well, look well, easy to see on the colors themselves, but also not be some weird Nazi symbol someone dug up from some
Yeah.
thing. I don't know what all these ancient symbols are, so we kind of went kind of simple. They look like Lucky Charms, basically, but adding that turned out to be a gigantic logistics pain just from layout and art.
Oh, really?
So because I'm doing all of that, it's not just the game design. I am the art department. I am the layout department. I'm the get it ready for print guy. All that stuff is me. So I have to change. It's weird. I have to mentally change the hat I'm wearing and go sit down and come up with a workflow that works for finding every single instance of one of these symbols, where it needs to be placed, make sure it's in the right places, automate that process where I can, but for the most part, it's a per card basis. So there's just a lot of like backtracking, double checking, you know, that sort of thing. Because the last thing on this planet I want is a single typo or a goofed card. I would lose my freaking mind if I did that.
Oh, you know what's going to happen, though.
Oh, dude. Oh, my gosh. And somebody told me, says, hey, you should have Chat GPT do your rules. Well, I didn't do that, but I ran it through Chat GPT just to see it. And I said, hey, just touch this up.
Yeah.
I want your take on it. And it came back so good. So I may keep some of that because it was really good about, like, not just like grammatical, better choices for certain grammar or whatever, but it just looked cleaner and easier to read. So I think I may do some of that tweaking before I'm finished, and then I'm going to have a whole lot of people read it again and all of that. But
so quick and dirty, how does the game play?
Okay, so the game works like this. You sit down, 2 to 5 of you. You got a big fat deck of about 150 cards, and in there are basically, it boils down to 3 kinds of cards. There are action cards, there are what we call dungeon chamber cards, and there are, I said action, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And there are money cards, or they're gold cards. And currency is a big deal in the game, so it's something that I'll mention maybe later. But the concept is you're a dungeon lord trying to manage all of these dungeons, and you want to own them all. You want to own these dungeons so that when adventurers come and die on the rocks and get killed by goblins or whatever, it's your dungeon that they're doing it in, and you're the lord of all dungeons.
So late-stage capitalism in a fantasy
There you have
setting.
it. You nailed it. And so that's the role you as the player are playing from the lore perspective. There's not a ton of lore. I've written some stuff, but again, it's mostly just tongue-in-cheek fun tropes in fantasy and that sort of thing. I could easily skin this to be a sci-fi game, and it would be very similar game with some sci-fi tropes. Yeah, exactly. Big robot boss instead of whatever, goblins or whatever else I have now. So that's the concept, and the goal, the win condition is whoever is the first to 3 full dungeon chamber sets, which means, like, I've got all the Elven Enclave, which means all the elves are on your side, and they're horrible elves, they're mean dark elves. The Ogre Camp, I think there's only 2 of those cards. They're good cards though, because they demand a lot of money when you're doing upkeep. Those 2 could be the second set, and then the third set is, I don't know, the Murder Crow Canyon.
How many different sets are in the game?
Oh, in total?
Like so we're talking a bunch.
Yeah, it's a pretty big handful. Some are 3 cards per set, some are 2 per set, some are 4.
And you said they're marked so that you know.
They
how
are marked,
many.
yeah. And every card. This is the other thing I went back to do that was a huge pain, but I'm glad I did it. I retrofit the entire deck to have any card that there was more than what was obvious. Like, it's obvious with the dungeon cards that there are 3 because it shows 3 on the card. So I didn't bother with those. But anything else where there's like 2 of them in the deck, there are 2 little pips down in the corner.
Gotcha.
So in play, it's more than just a convenient, like, how many of these exist? It's more like you're in play and you go, oh shoot, I just used Rebuke. I know there's one more in play somewhere. It's either in that draw deck or someone's holding it. I got to strategize based on assuming someone's got that.
Well, that was the game I watched at the end. That's where the guy won because he teased out he did enough action cards to draw out because he knew there was another Rebuke somewhere.
Right.
And he got that last Rebuke out, and then he threw down the card he really wanted to play because then he knew it wasn't going to get rebuked.
Exactly. So he's like a wizard around here as far as like board games go. So I was really nervous to have him play because he's just really good and has seen it all. He really liked it, and that made me happy. But also, it was fun to watch somebody like him, who's kind of a pro at tabletop, watch him execute a strategy so perfectly. It was really fun to see that.
It's like the gif of the what is it from The Hangover when all the equations are going through.
Oh yeah. That lady going, or whatever it is.
Or that I'm trying to think. What's his name? The dude from The Hangover. I can't remember his name. with Zach Galifianakis.
Oh, yeah. He has one. They got
Yeah.
one for Always Sunny in Philadelphia
Oh,
guy
yeah.
who's got the big board behind him. He's always freaking out. I love those kids. They're all good. But yeah, there's this moment of like, oh, he gets this. And not only that, he's thinking 2 moves ahead, and the rest of us are not. So it felt like I knew he was going to win that game. That's also heartening because I didn't want the game, this is such a balance, but I didn't want the game to become entirely luck-based.
Right.
But I wanted luck-based aspects of it. So there are times where your draw just sucks.
Yeah.
You know, or someone didn't shuffle great, and now there's too many repeats in your hand or something like that.
Or there's like a stop victory card because that same guy almost won like 2 turns earlier, and somebody had like a stop victory card.
Yeah,
that, like,
and
kept
there's only
them from
one of
winning.
those.
Yeah.
And once it's played, it is out of play forever for the rest of however long the game takes. Because with 5 people, you will reshuffle
Yeah.
old cards occasionally so you can get a new draw deck. I have yet to have a 2 to 4 player game where we had to reshuffle. So I think that's a good medium. We've never run out is the main thing,
Right.
which is the important thing. Anyway, yes, there's this single card. I added this very late in the design, but I wanted a way to make a winner have to sweat a little.
Oh, yeah.
And it would only work if someone had it in their hand, and that is not always the case.
Right.
Because it's one card. It has a little pip down the bottom saying 1. And it can't be rebuked, and it's a one-off forever in the game until you start a whole new set. If somebody has it, if that person's winning, even like if they're going to clobber everybody, they've even got in front of them, the win condition is done.
Yeah.
When they play that stop victory, you stay in the win condition. It
Yeah.
essentially stuns the winner for a round. They can't
And then you
declare victory.
Then you get to sweat because then it's like now the target's on me.
Everybody focuses on him,
Yeah.
and like we have to unseat his win. And even if one guy almost did and won, he was just minus and that's where that would have been a luck thing for that guy.
Yeah.
But Ducey, his name's Ducey. Ducey he thought ahead on that and just had what he needed when he needed it and held the card he needed to hold for the longest time and ended up getting that victory 2 rounds later. No one's ever done that on my play so far. So I really was playing with like the smartest guy in the room when it comes to board games, and to have him both get that deep into it, think that hard on it, and then tell me that he really likes the game was a huge thing for me. Because I'm not, again, I'm new to this in a way. I played video games my whole life, and a lot of board and card games as well, and I've always wanted to make one like this.
Yeah.
And this technically was an idea I had 5-6 years ago, like
That's
before.
right. I think that there have been hints throughout the past couple of years, like, oh, I'm working on something.
I have some old demo cards that are just
Yeah.
pointless now because it's changed so much. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So I want to talk about that because you've done other, like, this isn't, even with Rock Runners, it wasn't your first Kickstarter. You'd done so many other Kickstarters for all your other content, shows,
Sure.
and the art books and stuff.
Sure.
So was that the only reason why? Because at this point in the game, there's all these competitors now to Kickstarter. Was it just because this is what we're familiar with? So we just
Partly, we actually, I'll admit, we wanted to try BackerKit's new
Right.
site, and we applied. It's an invite only at the moment.
Oh, okay.
It's going to blow up soon enough. They'll open it to everybody, but
Right.
because they're in this phase of invite only, we applied for it, waited, nothing. So me and my business partner said, well, let's just get the main one done on Kickstarter. If
Yeah.
we, by some lucky chance, they come through, then we can switch. It's okay. It's no
Right.
big deal because we haven't launched yet. So he got it all set up and ready to go, so we weren't delaying anymore. And then this one, we waited, and then finally, right before this trip, we're like, well, they're not going to do it, so let's just do Kickstarter. So we submitted for final, whatever. And then found out we got accepted like a day after
Oh no.
to the BackerKit thing. For me, it's kind of aces. Like,
Yeah.
I'll take whatever. I was curious about their offering.
Because a lot of times you're gonna have to. I don't know what you. I forgot what you use for some of the other.
We've done Indiegogo a couple times.
Well, I mean, like for fulfillment part, because it's like half the time you end up using BackerKit anyways.
Right.
like-
And that's true. We'll still use BackerKit because that's where BackerKit came from.
Yeah.
I don't know how Kickstarter feels about it. Like, I don't know if they're...
I gotta feel like someone's kicking themselves because they
Yeah.
they left that open. Like it's been a big opening for a while.
A long time. I think
know.
they probably had that attitude of, well, it's like
'Cause, like,
World
you
of
gotta-
Warcraft add-ons. It's like, well, someone else is making it, so we don't have to make it. They'll
Yeah.
make it. And I think that was weird thinking because what you did is you let this other business make it, and you allowed for this almost API access type thing. And they were so good at it, made so much money at it, that they became a big, formidable company that could say, well, they have the front
user
end,
base.
They have the user base in the front end, and then we're the back.
Yeah.
Why don't we be the back and just add the simple front end?
Yeah.
And that's what they ended up doing. And as a result, they could run away with it. The problem with the problem that I have with BackerKit has just been slow to get anything going.
Right.
But we're in beta with them. It's
yeah,
like
exactly.
Not the same.
That was the first. Like, there's been a whole bunch of different sites, but when BackerKit announced, it was like, oh,
yeah,
that's probably going to do
deal.
well, because it's like most of us that use Kickstarter already have BackerKit accounts anyways.
Yeah, and they count on, that is the company of backing, is the fulfillment end.
Right.
When that part's done, the rest of it's gravy. You just do front end, and that's not hard if you have the money to hire people.
It's also one of the hard parts for new people is they don't think about that fulfillment part. So having that like help from the beginning to kind of like, whereas it, most people,
the entire experience is based on that.
Correct.
That's why we wanted to do it. We wanted to see what that would be.
Yeah, there's a company I've talked to. It's Game On, I think. They're big over in like Europe and like Spain and France and stuff. But they do the same thing where they have like, they have like a dedicated person that like calls you and like sets you up for like the entire planning out like your shipping and your distribution and all that.
Right.
So like, for a while I was like, there needs to be more of that kind of help in the front side.
I think they're smart, and I think they're probably going to do really well. It's just a little haphazard right now, and our timing was weird. And my timing was weird in general. There was so much stuff going on the last couple of weeks, and I got a kid who just got engaged. I got a
nice.
It's both oh no and nice. It's actually a great way of putting it, because we're excited for him, but also we're not ready for this. And then just a million other things. My daughter's got some big thing going on at school. She's going to Europe in a couple of weeks for a Comic-Con out there, and she lives with us right now. And so we got dogs and cats and all this stuff. And then my sister, the sisters are trying to work out what our family vacation is. We have another Vegas trip in a month. So there's just a lot going on. And I'm like, let's go ahead and launch it now. So it's kind of crazy, but it's the most prepared I've been for anything I've ever done. And that's weird, because normally what you do, I shouldn't say normally because I don't actually know, but what I would do normally is you have your concept and your stuff, and you may have prototypes, but you're really not that far along.
Because a lot of time it's like, does anybody want this?
You need to know first, so you can then spend the money to make it, right?
Yeah.
This is a little further along than that, where I've got in my bag right there, I have a boxed version of the game,
and
minus
you said
a couple
pretty
of things.
much it's all good. Like once the Kickstarter closes, it's just final tidying up and editing, and then
there's a few rule tweaks I'm gonna make based on today, but for the most part, moreover, it's done. The box is different, but that's already done. It's just waiting for printing. So really, it's a lot of just pull the trigger based on numbers of people, and I love being that prepared because it means we can fulfill way faster.
Right.
So one of the things with Kickstarter I hate, or any of crowdfunding I hate, is I feel immense pressure to not screw it up. And I think that
because you always hear about those examples.
I'll never want to be. It sounds like the most horrifying concept to me is screwing that up.
I think as soon as you say I'm not gonna, as soon as you get worried about it, your chances of being that kind of drop.
I think so, right?
You're paying more attention.
I hope so. I hope that's what it means when I freak out about it, because I really do, and I get so like, have we thought of everything? Have we missed anything? Did one guy not get his package? And it had even nothing to do with us. It was like a mail problem. I hate that feeling of somebody didn't get what we promised.
Right.
And so this has been one of those times where I worked really hard up to this point to make sure this thing is just like watertight. I don't want any issues. I don't want any questions unanswered. There's always going to be something, but
Yeah, but it also comes out of just communication. Like, you can have problems, but as long as you're telling everybody. Like, I backed a Kickstarter that was like a year and a half late, but every Monday they would send out an update with a card proof. So I'm like, okay, they're working on it at least. Whereas I've got another one that, I haven't had an update in like 5 years. So I'm like, I'm never getting that.
Yeah, and I've got, I've talked to friends, Brian Ibbett, who's co-hosting this event with me this year. He's run into this a lot. He gets real tempted by cool gadgets on Kickstarter and never hears about them again, or checks in a year later and they're like gone. No one knows where they went. And I know that the more part of Kickstarters do get fulfilled. It's still just such a bummer that some people get hosed, and I don't ever want to be that. Even if it's even if I couldn't help it, a market crashes and all printing goes, whatever it is, I don't want to be that. If I have to break even or even lose a little money, I'd rather do that than screw people over. It just scares the crap out of me.
It got lucky in the chance that we're kind of a little bit past the hump of some of the shipping disasters we've been having.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing, is our goal was, my personal goal was this game would have been out 2021 maybe. But the pandemic just royally hosed it. And also prior to that, one of the problems, people don't talk about this much, but maybe they do, but getting product manufactured and printed in China was kind of the standard. Cheaper, just
Still
cheaper.
is.
Still is. But a bunch of U.S. tariffs got put on specifically card games and board games. And so when we were shipping Rock Runners, which happened in 2021, I think, or 2020, whatever it was, I lose track. That whole time.
Yeah.
So such a blur, but that all got we had to reinvent the wheel and do it in the U.S. and figure out how to cover costs, and it was cheaper than going to China at the time because those tariffs were weird. It's changed a little now and it's not quite as weird, but there's that to worry about. There's all these factors you have no control over, and my whole thing was like, I want to get suppliers in mind and locked before I want to pull the trigger kind of all at once so that we maximize the chance of not having a bunch of uncontrollable factors kick in.
Yeah.
And thus far, piece of cake. We've done okay.
So it doesn't. I guess it also doesn't help, or sorry, it doesn't hurt that you've got this built-in community already. That
it's crucial.
We'll just do we'll do anything you say, kind of thing.
Well, it's another one of those. I feel enormous pressure to never screw that up.
But what I want to ask
you're
is,
right.
there's this the Frogpants community, if you will.
Sure.
But there's also this the kind of like board tabletop gamers community. There's crossover. Like the Venn diagram crosses over, but
the real hardcore faction of it though terrifies me.
Yeah.
It scares the crap out of
So
me.
that's what I was going to ask. Like, because specifically with Rock Runners, did you ever have that kind of like the gamers expect their Kickstarters to be like X, Y, and Z, and being new, you may not have known some of those things.
No,
like
I was really
like Board Game Geek and that kind of integration and sort of thing.
There was some of that. I was really purposeful in making sure all of the discussion around that project was very clear about what the scope was. It was like, I'm just getting started in this. This is my first stab at it. All this art is mine. Some of these concepts in the game are totally 100% new stuff, but this is based on this old game. It's a simple game. It's not meant to be crazy or complicated, and it's just a fun game. And here's what I'm going to make. It was never like the next phase of tabletop experiences are about to come out of this guy no one's heard of. Yeah. Like I never wanted to leave that impression. And so this one is a similar approach. The PR around this has been, hey guys, it's my sophomore approach, and I have cool new ideas, and here's what I'm going to do, and I can't wait to do it. And I think I've learned a lot. You know, like, I'm trying to be as honest about the process as possible, so I can slightly underpromise how great, and slightly overdeliver on that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I'm not gonna turn the world on its head and become Gloomhaven. It's not gonna happen. But I can become maybe this guy that makes fun little card games you can take to your parents and play all night or something. And that's fine with me.
Yeah, I told you I had a suggestion. You were like, "Oh, I wish I could get more blind play testers." Yeah. Because one of the things, especially in a post-pandemic world, we've been seeing a lot of people that will release their game on Tabletop Simulator.
Oh yeah, right.
And then because you've got all the assets, you probably need someone that's very
knows
familiar.
How to do it.
Yeah, knows how to do it. But you know enough people that have experience with that.
Good news on that is I have at least two have offered, but one in particular who I know has done it multiple times is going. We're doing it. How soon I don't know yet, but
because that's usually one of the perks in the Kickstarter.
The Kickstarter
is
perk,
like, oh, are you not sure? Well, you can play it right now.
Yeah. We'll definitely do that because you're right. I have the assets. I have all the wherewithal there. I just need somebody who's got some tabletop sim experience that I don't have, unfortunately. I could learn it.
Yeah.
I have it. Just haven't messed with it.
Yeah.
I haven't done much with it.
But again, you got to go back to time.
Yeah,
learning.
It's all time, right? So I would probably let him do that. I also have a big-time board game nerd friend of mine who is going to take the game and retrofit some single-player rule changes to it so people can do solo play.
Yeah.
because I guess that's a big deal now, is everybody wants a solo way of playing certain games.
Well, it's another pandemic change where it's like sometimes you don't always have a group,
Yeah,
and it
people
just
around,
you have
yeah.
these games that just sit on the shelf because it's like, well, I can't get to game day or the stuff, but now it's like, oh, well, I could at least enjoy it in some form.
Exactly. And I mean, this one's nice, the one I'm doing, Dungeon Murder, because it'll let you do 2 to 5. But if somebody wants to do a solo experience, I think that sounds great. I'm particularly poorly suited to know how to do that.
Yeah.
Because in my head, all my design concepts and thoughts and feelings about every step of this process has been multiplayer. It's just how I've thought about it.
Right.
Ironically, as a video gamer, I prefer single-player games.
Yeah.
I don't like multiplayer as much. I'll do it, but it's just I don't like working around everyone else's schedule. So if you're into that in tabletop, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Like, same reasons, right? You just
And that's not uncommon, actually. I've seen that a lot where a designer will design a game and then farm out the solo. Because, again, it's like unless you're that kind of person, you just don't think
My
that.
brain just
you
didn't
don't
think that way, no.
And then, but the people that are, they'll be like, oh, I know immediately how, change this and that, and suddenly, boom.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll make a big difference for just making the game more rounded and available, and that's one thing that's really important to me. I just want it to be accessible, and that's why all the fonts are getting bigger in the final print. There's little things you don't think about while you're doing it that come up later, and then you go and tweak it and go through each card again and make sure you didn't miss anything, and it's this whole process. But there's yet to be a moment in this process of this particular game where I haven't enjoyed the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy making it, and I'm proud as crap of the art. I love how it all turned out. I think it's all readable and feels good, and it went better than I expected. I'll say that. And what's cool, speaking of Kickstarter, is when this is all done and fulfilled, and I won't even start the next thing till I do, my next goal is a little simpler. I'm doing a children's book with my daughter. She's going to illustrate that, and I'm going to write it. So big change of gears, right? But then after that, who knows? Maybe expansions for this thing, maybe a sci-fi version of it, maybe a whole new game entirely. I don't know, but I've got a kind of an itch for it now, which is kind of weird because people think it's hilarious, and they tease me that I hate long-winded rules in board games, which is partially why this one's got some relatively simple rules. I have a basic rules card, 4 of them that will ship in the game at the same size card as the cards themselves, so they'll be able to quickly look at it and go, oh, okay. And you see that a lot, quick start rules. And then the actual rules are like a little pamphlet, 6 pages long, whatever, with a little more detail. I'll do stuff online too, but I don't want to make stuff that's like doing math. I want it to feel quick and like, oh, I'm in, I get it. Oh, that makes sense. All right, we're off, we're playing. Like first time playing it, I'm learning as I go kind of games.
Right.
I love those. And I think there's value in those. And I know a lot of people are like, nah, the future is Gloomhaven level.
Yeah.
Just
not everybody, like, it appeals to a lot of people, but
Sure.
it doesn't appeal to everybody.
No, the concepts appeal to me greatly.
Yeah.
But the investment in time and effort and everything that Gloomhaven represents, it's just not in my wheelhouse. And I love that it exists. I think it's amazing, but I couldn't do that.
So I have one more suggestion for you,
Yeah.
and that is you were worried about typos and errors.
Yeah,
Post the rule book on the Kickstarter.
that's a good idea.
Because then, like, what I've seen a lot of people do is it's basically you're giving your users the chance to beta test edit your rule book,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
Because one of the problems I've seen a lot is people are smart, they make great games, but sometimes the person who designs the game is the worst person to write the rule book for it.
Oh, yeah.
Because not enough people play test the rule book. It's something I want to see a lot more is, yes, you can teach the game, but give the rule book to someone else. Let them try and teach the game, because if they can't, then what was the point of the rule book?
That's a great point, yeah.
Because that's what happened. You see it all the time where it's like, oh, this rule book's hard. And they're like, oh, we came out with a second edition of our rule book you can print on our website.
And the games themselves, if you just play them, they turn out to be kind of intuitive and self-teaching, but the rules make it sound more complicated than it is, or just as badly written or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is one of our goals. We're also going to have a good web component here where people can easily get to it or print it or put on, get it on their phone or whatever, because there's a chance down the road someone runs into a scenario where no one could have thought of it, and I want to be able to amend it and say, as of such and such date, we've added this clarification on how this card works or whatever. So I'm thinking more ahead about that than I did previously, And the last game, Rock Runner's Hit, was extremely simple in its gameplay. Again, on purpose, and it didn't need a lot of explanation. This one's a little more than that, and but I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to be too verbose when I don't need to be. You know, people know what I don't know. They know what it means when you say draw pile. I don't have to explain what a draw pile is.
You just can't say tap.
I can't say tap. No.
That's forbidden.
You'll lose money. I don't know why.
Well, no, apparently it's like you can't copyright mechanics, but you can copyright terms, and Magic
Correct.
owns the copyright to tap.
Do they really?
That's what I've heard.
Oh,
That could be urban legend, but that's what I've heard the reason is for like every other game is like ready and exhaust, and that's what I've heard.
That's odd. I don't doubt it, though. And that's one thing we had to be careful with here is I would think a lot about it. Like, okay, well, I'm taking this idea from Seven Wonders Duel, this one aspect. And I like how they did it. And I'm going to add to it and change it around and stuff. But I kind of like it. So we're going to use that as the basis. And in my head, I'm like, well, how much is this idea a
How do
thing?
I have to deviate?
Then I think, well, wait a minute. I played Doom and I played Quake and I played Unreal. They're all just riffing on each other. Like, they're just expanding the thing that it already was. So I didn't worry that much about that. And so many board games are that as well. It's like, hey, have you played Uno? Cool, because this game's like that, except it's got these dice, and, you know, you can kind of tweak these rules. And there are parts of Dungeon Murder that are that. The one thing that people are going to find out when they play it, though, is there's a lot of dungeon stuff and very little murder.
Oh, yeah.
But it's about the origin of the name. I'm going to include that in the package so they get a little story on why I called it that.
Yeah.
And it's a more personal thing, but it has to do with a comic strip I drew years ago about tabletop gaming. And
I think I remember.
you know
this
the one?
now.
It's basically someone sort of representing me with a big board game laid out, bunch of pieces everywhere, and a ton of paper. And he goes, all right, I'm going to be a proper board game user, and I'm going to learn all these rules. And then it said 10 minutes later, and it's the same guy leaning back with a PSP playing video games while the board stuff's just all scattered everywhere. He gave up, right?
Yeah, and the game was called
The game was called Dungeon Murder because
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a cooler name. And I've done this with an fake arcade game called Space Murder. It's something about it's just funny to me.
Yeah.
And I always loved that name. So way back then, I registered DungeonMurder.com thinking one day I'll use this for something. Don't know what. And this came along, and I went, well, I just need a lot of fantasy tropes and dungeons, and after that I'm good. I don't have to really murder anybody, you know. But you're kind of murdering each other. You're whatever. I want a game to be emblematic of the good time you had, and less of them going, I wonder what it means. Like, who cares what it means? I just want it to be fun and memorable, and we'll go from there. And I don't have any like crazy high-minded like, it's going to sell billions of copies, or we'll be in Target before you know it, or any of that.
Right.
If that stuff happens, gravy.
Yeah.
For me, this is more like creative output, goal, complete. I did it. I'm happy. I may do more. Who knows? People like it. That's really satisfying.
It's just seeing people play something you created.
Yeah, and it'll be the same with that children's book. It's been the same with the previous work I did in Kickstarter or any other effort.
Right.
I mean, half the reason I made a morning show is I wanted to make a morning show. Like, there wasn't any like financial incentive. It was, I don't like morning zoos and morning radio. I hate it. Why isn't there something I would like? Oh, wait, I'll make one.
That seems to be a reoccurring theme, though.
Happens a lot.
Making something like that was the instance, the podcast you don't have to.
Yeah, I did. No one else had to. I did that when I started that show in 2006, January of that year. I started it because the 2 or 3 other shows that existed that were supposed to be Warcraft shows were bad.
Yeah.
And this is early podcasting days when there was even an ecosystem for podcasting.
When the top 10 chart was the only podcast.
That's
on the
all there
store.
was, right? They just rotated through them. And anyway, I remember back then being like, these are bad. I don't like these. No offense to any of them if they're still around. I don't think they are. But I just was like, why aren't these what I want them to be? And then it clicked. I'll make the show. It'll be the one I want to make. And I would want to listen to. And that blew up. It went really well. And it served me well generally. I'm not going to change the world, but I feel like I am making little dents here and there. And the satisfaction of pulling it off is more important to me than the money it may generate or not. These Kickstarters, people always see a big number and go, ooh.
Yeah.
But they forget. It's just more money to spend because you got to fulfill a whole lot more stuff. And by the time you're done, your margins didn't get better. Not really. Because even if the margins got better with volume, and they do, you've got perks you've added now. and you said, well, since we
Stretch
blasted through that
goals.
price,
Yeah.
we got the new coating on the cards and make them last till 1,000 years or whatever. All of that costs money, and by the end, you're kind of at the same margin problem. So
That's why nobody except for Hasbro's getting super rich in board games.
No, like that's why when you think about it, it's like, who are they? Milton Bradley, Hasbro.
Well, Milton Bradley is Hasbro.
Oh, that's
now.
right. They own them now.
Yeah,
I totally forgot
like
about
all
that.
your classic board game companies
Yeah.
are
They
Hasbro now.
coagulate.
Yeah, Parker
and
Brothers.
even the European and German stuff, there's some consolidation over there.
Yep.
And I think that's that kind of business. I don't want to get into that world.
Yeah.
What I want is like a cool, independent thing that I can say, 3 generations from now, my great-great-great-grandchildren can say, he was cool, he made this game. And that's more powerful to me than I'm in Target or something. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't turn it down if
That's
suddenly
what I
Target
heard
carried my
is-
game,
yeah. Target comes calling, like, nope, I already said that I wasn't going to do it.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's a little bucket list. It's a little just passion. It's a little bit of using all my tools at once because I love promoting it. So I got all this radio and video and all that. I can do that. I already do that. I already draw. I already do art. I already do production art. I do like every stage of it. I don't need to hire anybody.
Yeah.
I don't have to contract anything. I just
You
have
also
to
just
do
don't
it.
get the excuse of, oh, we had to wait on layout.
Yeah, no, none of that. I don't have to. If anyone's ever to blame in the process, it's either me or who I'm having print the thing.
Yeah.
And that I can't control, but we have really good partners. And I say we. I have a guy who helps me with the business side of it a little bit, which is good because he's very good at that, and I'm not great at marketing. So he's helped me handle that. But for the most part, it's just fun to be able to say, I made this. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing I made. Do you like it? And have people say, yes, we like it. That's it. The rest of it's gravy. And I'll move on to the next one and do more. And if I get more out of that, more gravy. I like gravy. Gravy's good. Put gravy on anything. Mashed potatoes are not the only place you put gravy. You put it on anything you want.
Yeah.
Don't put it on ice cream. That's all I would
Don't
say.
put it on the cards either.
No. I almost spilled a Pepsi, cherry Pepsi Zero on it, on my cards in there. Averted disaster on my only deck. It's all fine now.
Yeah.
I wiped them clean.
So Dungeon Murder on Kickstarter now. Looks
Yep.
like it's a 3-week campaign.
3-week campaign. We were told, and we did a bunch of research, that the new hotness is 3-week campaigns. That the 1-month ones, for some reason, aren't as successful as 3 weeks.
Actually, I don't know about 3. For me, it always seems like it's either a month or 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was my experience, and he came back with me with all these numbers and said, "Look at the trend."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know why this is, but okay, let's do it.
I
I'm
mean,
not
all
that
that
worried about it. but-
really matters is like the first 48 and the last 48.
Right,
That's
it's
all
that tub, right? You go
Yeah.
off the edge, or no, you're and then.
I think that was the change, is just to reduce that time in between those points.
I think
But
that's
yeah.
it. Cut out the weird middle. But yeah, it's up there. If you go to dungeonmurder.com, it will take you currently straight to the Kickstarter. Eventually, that'll go to its own site again, which is where it was prior to today. But dungeonmurder.com will be the place, the home for this for ever, perpetuity. And yeah, who knows what's next? I'm hoping I'll have it up on Board Game Geek this time. We're gonna actually make an effort for that, and gonna take copies at different cons and stuff, and just see how it does. And like I say, if it just ends up being a big hit around my house, my work here is done.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. And we're back. So I think that's enough.
Yeah,
That's a
good.
decent sized show here coming at you from Vegas. Also, I got to get to bed because I got a 6 a.m. flight or 8 a.m. flight in the morning.
Nah.
I got to get back and work on the show.
Right?
Someone's got to edit all this footage
Sleep is for the weak, says the guy who's taking a couple naps
today.
today.
So we will see you guys next time. Hopefully, I got all this edited in time to stream it live when we're supposed to be recording.
There we go.
But now, future Chris is going to roll that beautiful bean footage right now. You're supposed to start. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
That's been
us.
our show.
There you
We want to thank you for watching us live from beautiful Las Vegas. The airport's right there.
Live from the Henry Reid Airport.
That's right. You wouldn't have seen anything taken off, but right
Harry
there.
Reid. I said
Harry
Henry.
Reid. Yeah.
I said Henry Reid.
Used to be McCarran. Don't know why they changed it. Don't really care. I don't know.
They
Some
didn't
reason
give
behind
him
it.
more money.
That's probably what it is.
The contract ran out.
Yep. If you want to check us out live, most of the time, boardsandswords.com/live. That's got the schedule. It's got the links to all the streaming channels. We're
right now on Twitch, twitch.tv/boards and swords.
/boards and
We're
swords.
trying this out and trying just on Twitch.
Oh, just to see what goes on.
See what goes on. See if we can get some better community, because that's what it's all about. We don't care about like the money and stuff. We just want people to talk and tell us who we suck.
We met awesome people this week.
We did.
It was so great.
We met a bunch of people, and so thank you to all you people for making this place so amazing and this that event so awesome to meet and hang out with all of you. It's definitely one of those types of conventions where it's like you can just sit down with there's an empty seat. Hey, can I sit here? Sure, go ahead. Oh, and then just start talking with people like you've been friends forever kind of thing. So
the only thing I missed, and actually it didn't happen that much, was like at Gen Con, 12 people will sacrifice their arm to hold the elevator for you. Like, we didn't have a lot of people yelling.
Well,
"Hold the elevator here."
we were also not in the hotel where the convention or where
We were
the
also
meetup
not,
was,
yeah.
so that might have happened if we were at the plaza.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, once again, feedback@boardsandswords.com. Let us know what you think about a gamer-themed casino and what you would do instead. And remember, patreon.com/boardsandswords. If you want to help support out the show, that'd be cool. Boardsandswords.com has all the links, and we'll be back, hopefully, in 2 weeks with another episode. In the meantime, remember that every gamer has a story, and this one didn't stay in Vegas.
Is there a law against that?
What happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas.
Doesn't always stay in
Especially
Vegas.
if you get crabs.